Hello everybody, Reggie Time here again with a third video this week because my enthusiasm is up. In this video we're going to be looking at, I think it's just 6 hands I played in like last night's session. The first 2 hands I think are pretty interesting because I'm going to do a little bit of HUD analysis, if you will, for want of a better way of putting it. And then the last 4 hands are just, I think, interesting hands or fun or how, you know, you'll enjoy them. I promise you. I think you're going to enjoy all 6 hands today. So please do stick around. Please do hit the likes, comments, share, subscribe, etc. So yeah, and then I've got some like probably interspersed between the hands. I'm just going to like dump some random thoughts that I've been having lately about poker in general and the poker landscape and different content creators that I watch and what I gain from them, and sometimes what I get from them that isn't good. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be a really interesting video, and hopefully, hopefully you'll enjoy it. And please, like, do comment on the video. Like, if anything I say you disagree with or anything you agree with, please do comment because I'd be interested to see if other people kind of share my thoughts or disagree with my thoughts on various things that I'm going to talk about throughout the video. So let's get on with that, reviewing this hand at first, because this hand and the next hand in particular, I quite enjoy. So we're going to start off with this one. We open the Ace King suited, all very standard at the moment. We get 3-bet by this yellow tag player. My yellow tag is kind of usually stays pretty nitty. Don't pay this motherfucker off. Even though this guy's stacked 2017, 7.73 bet, he's still a nit. Not as nitty as me, but he's a nit. So in a minute you're gonna see my HUD's gonna be pulled up, or like my pop-up, sorry. Oh no, it's not in this one, I'm afraid not. This one it isn't. No, is it? Yes it is. Ignore me, I'm a dick. So we pulled this up, and what I was looking for here was this stat, this like 3-bet by position, because he's 3-betting 7.7% overall. We've only got 1,200 hands on the guy, but already feel pretty familiar with him. And this is only he's only 3-bet 1 from 37 so far from middle position. So it's clearly not a big strategy of his to 3-bet from middle position. So whereas usually our hand Ace King suited, you can see I'm actually hovering over there, would be a 4-bet and try and get it in. Against this player, I didn't feel that it would necessarily be very good to 4-bet against him, because I had presumed, based on that small sample size, or relatively small sample size, that his range here would just be incredibly strong. So I thought we'd just see a flop and proceed from there rather than 4-bet get it in. There's some players, maybe not at this table, where I would just 4-bet Ace King here and get it in. Some of the more aggressive Eastern European regs, for example, or some Wales, etc. But not this guy. I mean, we're going to get this flop now, and the hand, you'd imagine, is going to play itself from here on in. But yeah, I thought that was the first interesting point of the hand, because this pretty standard, it's Ace King suited, pretty standard form. Maybe even is against someone, who's only 3-bet 137 so far from middle position. Maybe I'm overdoing it a little bit, but I think this hand here is going to show how dangerous it can be making assumptions from relatively small sample sizes. I mean, 1,201 hands, it's not nothing, it's not insignificant, but this hand's going to demonstrate, just how we shouldn't get too caught up in just purely like, oh, this is what my HUD's telling me, so this is what I'm going to do. So we get this flop here, and obviously I'm delighted with it. Well, as you see now, I'm looking for his C-bet stat now, and that's this one here, this 45%. I guess we should just go through a HUD. These are all raised first in by position, early position through to small blind. That's his overall stats 2017. That's his 3-bet. That's his full to 3-bet. That's his full to 4-bet. This row stats here is C-bet flop, C-bet turn, C-bet river, donk bet, and one-man store flop. And bottom line is full to C-bet, full to turn, C-bet, full to river, C-bet, bet versus miss C-bet, and then bet a turn out of position after the flop checks through. So there are my stats. So this guy's kind of pretty damn passive post flop. He's got a one-man store flop of 46, which is decent enough, but he's not a big C better. So I was toying with the idea of maybe donking here into him, with his low C bet, but then I was like, well, no, he has 3-bet for a middle position where he doesn't normally do that. So maybe he's stronger than usual. Maybe he is just going to C bet this flop for a change. So we'll go for a check raise rather than a C bet, rather than donking into him. He does C bet. I think we just want to raise here and try and get the money in. So we do raise, hoping he 3-bets us. He doesn't, he just calls. And then we get that turn, which I think was really quite bad. I don't think this player C-bets pocket queens on the flop. Maybe he does, but I don't think he does. Given that he's like low C-bet percentage, he's not someone who's range betting flops. So I didn't think he had pocket queens very often, but I did think he could have pocket queens. Sorry, I didn't think he could have ace queen. I didn't like that turn at all. It felt really unpleasant after I'd check raised and he'd called. I was like, well, what does his range look like now? It's given that I don't think you see bets very often. It's going to have ace king. He's going to have pocket aces. He's going to have ace queen. I would imagine would be his range. That's what I was thinking at the time. He's going to have aces. Very unlikely. There's only one combination left. Ace queen, not that many combinations of that, but I thought like if we bet this turn and he shoves, then we're probably going to be behind. Not the end of the world because we do have like a gut shot and a flush draw, but I just thought I'd be getting my money in bad, and I really, really didn't like this turn. And I thought a lot of the time, if we bet and he shoved, we'd just be fucked. Based on what I thought about him, based on how he's playing this hand compared to like the stats and my thoughts on him. So I ended up checking this turn. Excuse me, I had to sneeze there. I had to sneeze there, many apologies. And he bets like pretty big, and I was very concerned now at this point that we just didn't have the best hand. This guy is just not an aggressive post flop player. So again, against a lot of players here, I would just consider check shoving. But against this guy, I actually thought I was behind. I didn't think I was ahead at this point. I just thought, fair enough, there's not many hands that beat us, but he's probably got one. If he hasn't, he's got one that we're just chopping with. So I was really quite concerned at this point, even though we have like a really strong draw and we're probably right at the top of our range. I still didn't like it against this opponent because of what I perceive, the way I perceive him to play. Just how nitty he is post flop, how like pretty tight he is post flop. So we end up just calling. And then we just rip off the nuts on the river. So obviously now we're happy. But I wasn't sure how to play this river now because I didn't think he was ever going to bet this river. He just doesn't have flushes here. There's no flushes he can have. We've got the ace and the king, the jack and the 10 are out there, so that he just does not have flushes. And this guy is just not going to like value bet anything now. I don't think, unless he has some king X himself, he may well value bet his combinations of ace king. And I didn't know what to do this river, and I don't think I liked what I ended up doing. I just thought it was like a really weird spot because now we've rivered the nuts and we're out of position against somebody who probably isn't going to call here. If I just shove, he's not going to call ace queen. He's going to call his sets, obviously. If he's got a set of aces, he's calling. If he's got ace king suit, if he's got an ace king, he's going to be calling. I'm not even certain this player bets ace king on the turn. I think when he bets the turn, he's just going to be pretty strong for the most part in like 2-pair plus land. I don't think he's the type of player that bets ace king, for example. So I wasn't sure what to do here. I ended up going with something that, in hindsight, I didn't like. I think I should just shove and let him decide what he wants to call with. I think I make a mistake here because I just thought this guy's got ace queen. I was fixated on he's got ace queen. So what side should I choose against ace queen? And I don't like what I did here. I don't like it at all. I ended up, I hovered over the shove, hovered over the 40%. I didn't know what to do. I went to my time bank. I'm like, well, now this looks really obvious. I've got a good hand. Time bank betting. It's just always just never a bluff. And I bet that, and I don't like that. It's rubbish. It's purest dog shit. It's not a good bet at all. Um, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, fine, I'm gonna force him to call with all his two pairs, I guess, but it's not enough. It's a bad bet. So I'm not proud of what happens here. He just snap call us, and we're going to end up looking at what his hand was. And he had that, which really, really surprised me, based on his stats. Like, he's only 3-bet 1%, like one time from 37 from middle position. He doesn't normally see bet wide, and all of a sudden he's turned up with a hand that I didn't think he would 3-bet pre from middle position, and a hand I didn't think he would c-bet. So it does show, like, even though you think you know somebody through the stats you've got, they can still like just randomly turn up with stuff you just do not expect. You do not expect to see. And obviously with that hand he's got there, we could just have got the maximum on the river because he's got the straight. So we could have shoved the river, and he would have had to call, I think. Maybe he folds it. Maybe he's nitty enough where he just folds a straight on the river, thinking we only have flushes when we shove, which would be very reasonable given the line we've taken. But I don't like the way I played that hand. I think pre-flop I'm happy with based on what I thought about him. Flop I'm happy with. Turn I'm happy enough with because I thought he had ace queen. River I think we should just shove. But it is what it is. It's not a well played hand from me. We missed some value, but I do think it was interesting in terms of being a little bit over reliant on your HUD sometimes, or putting too much stock into what your HUD's telling you. So going to the next hand where I think my HUD is quite a bit more useful to me. So we've got this guy here, this Segerman, German regular. Doesn't fall to 3-bets almost ever. 13% fall to 3-bet, which is, it's absurdly low. It's not good. It shouldn't have a fall to 3-bet as low as that. So we bump it up to 11.4x. He now 4-bets to a pretty absurdly big sizing. And now you're going to see me. I'm going to be looking now for how often he raises 3-bets. And because I'm a bit of a nerd and I look at all that pool stats, so I can get a feel for how certain players play compared to the pool. This number is almost double the pool average. Again, it's a pretty small sample, so we need to be careful of that. It's just only a 37 hand sample again, like the last one was. Of the 37 times he's been 3-bet, he's 4-bet 7 of them, so 19%. The pool average is on AAA that I see in my holder manager. It's about 11%. So he's clearly, or at least this stat shows, he's clearly 4-betting more than the pool. But again, it's a ridiculously small sample size. It might just be that over this sample, he's had more hands that he can 4-bet. He's just had more than his fair share of ace, king, aces, kings, etc. But it's the only stat I had to deal with. So I thought if this guy's got more 4-bets than the pool, he's going to have more folds to shoves than the pool. And he's made it pretty big. So he elected to just go for a slow play against him instead. And we just called pre-flop, expecting him to barrel off a reasonable amount. But, he hasn't got the biggest c-bet stat, 45%, but it is a 4-bet pot. So you'd imagine he's going to c-bet quite often, especially on this board. If he does have like jacks, queens, etc., he's going to want to c-bet, get the money in pretty quickly, you would imagine. He goes deep into the tank and he bets 19.3 big blinds. So we got the decision, do we want to raise here or do we want to just call and continue setting the trap? And against somebody who thinks 4-betting a little bit more than most, I elected to continue the slow play. This could just be me massively overplaying a hand here, or massively over-egging the pudding. Maybe we just raise here and get it in. Because he's never folding tens, jacks, queens, etc. We're always getting stacked by aces. But I elected to continue try to be sneaky. 8 of spades on the turn shouldn't really change anything. it might make him slow down with some hands, but none of us have 5xe. I mean, if anyone does, it's him because he has some ace-5 suited, I guess. But that wasn't remotely asked about the 7. If he's got to be beat, he's got to be beat now at this point. He shoves. I hope we don't take too long calling. We call, and he has that, and I don't think it's good. But again, that's something that I think if I'd have gone with the shove pre, maybe he just calls it off anyway. Maybe he just 4-bet calls ace queen off. But I think like just looking at my stats and noticing that maybe this guy 4-bets more than the pool led me down this route to going for this slow play, and then we won the maximum from his ace queen. But maybe we didn't. Maybe we stack ace queen anyway just by jamming. I don't know, but I thought it was like two interesting hands where I looked at my HUD and I allowed that to like properly inform my decisions, which isn't something I think I've been doing enough of lately, because well, number one, I've not been playing on Triple Eight very much, so I haven't had my HUD, and number two, when I do play on Triple Eight, I've been like 3 and 4 tabling by adding in an extra table of 15L, and just like not using my HUD enough and just like looking at the headline stats and allowing that to form the basis for my decisions and not delving deep enough into it. So there's two hands. One where I think my HUD helped me, this one, and the one before where I think my HUD probably hindered me a little bit. So yeah, there's the first two hands of the video. And I guess now we'll get into my random thoughts a little bit, because they're the two most interesting hands. The next 4 hands that are coming, the fun, and they are a lot of fun, so please do keep watching or skip past this bit if you don't want to listen to my random thoughts, and do watch the other hands because they are fun ones. But I've been thinking lately about the content that I've been consuming when not playing. Some of the people that I watch, I'm not going to dig people up by name, but if you're familiar with like the Twitch and the YouTube poker content creators, you might be able to guess some of the people who I'm talking about. The ones who I like, I'm going to mention by name. The ones who I don't like very much, and the ones who I think are pretty bad for poker overall, I'm not going to mention by name, but you might be able to figure out who they are. I've been watching some like microstakes cash game players who are like relatively popular, but like don't get huge viewers. But in terms of like microstakes cash game players, they get the fair share of views, more than the fair share of views. And to be frank, I think they're pretty toxic, and I think they've had an overall net negative effect on how I think about poker, my poker mindset, etc. Well, actually, it's one player in particular, and it's not good because it can rub off on you. He never seems to be able to give any of his opponents credit for being any good whatsoever. He just calls them names all the time. He is pretty negative towards them. He gets really cross that he's like beating the game for like a really crummy win rate. Like if you take me for example, this month my win rate's been pretty crummy, and I've been humble about it. I've been pragmatic about it, and I've accepted that my win rate is my fault. The things I do ultimately decide my win rate. So it's my fault that my win rate has not been good this month. I've done okay because I've ran well and I've put lots of volume in. But, my win rate is pathetic. It's rubbish. It's pure dog shit. But, a lot of that is on me. It's my fault. And I blame that. I take ownership of that. I take responsibility for that. And it's on me. Whereas this player doesn't. It's always somebody else's fault. And I think that's a really bad mindset. And I think anyone who's watching these types of players hoping to like learn things and improve, they're not. They're going to be learning the wrong things. They're going to be learning it's okay to blame other people. It's okay to not take responsibility for your own results and for things that are happening to you. And that's like really quite bad. And on top of that, it's just really negative and quite toxic. And I'll be honest, the only reason I watch this guy is to hope to see him start losing and start steaming and ranting and kind of showing himself up a little bit. If I go to log on and watch and he's winning and he's smiling, he seems happy, I just turn off. I'm not interested because I don't particularly want him to do very well. But if he's doing badly and he's steaming and he's showing himself up and he's like ranting, then I'll stay and watch for fucking ages because I enjoy watching certain people who I don't think are particularly good ambassadors for the game. I enjoy seeing them upset and seeing them angry. That's not not a particularly nice part of my character. It's not a particularly nice part of who I am, but it is part of who I am. And I enjoy staying on and watching them, basically watching them endure misery of playing a game they don't particularly want to play, having a really shit win rate over a large sample. And I enjoy listening to their justifications for why it's shit when ultimately over like a large sample size, it's on them. It's their fault. It's shit. It's not somebody else's fault. It's their fault. They're just not playing well enough to beat the games for like a bigger win rate. But then we move on to other people. I've started watching a streamer called Pete Robbo lately. He's a middle-aged streamer. He's about my age, maybe a tiny bit younger. He's a scouser. He plays tournaments on GG, and his attitude is like chalk and cheese to like the person I've previously been talking about. He's just so chilled. He's laid back. He's really friendly with his chat. To me, he's everything a poker streamer should be in terms of like sending out the right vibes and the right message to his community. And and I look at him and I think, what can I do to be more like him in terms of like how how can I be more positive? How can I hopefully inspire the people who watch me to A, become better players, and B, just become better like people at the table? Because I've not always been good. I'm a salty fucker sometimes. I slow roll people. I've been known to be, unpleasant about some of my opponents. I try to be humble about myself, but the way I sometimes rant about short stackers, etc. I get some people enjoy that. I enjoy doing it, but it's probably not a good example to set. And albeit that I only have a small community here, my videos typically only get 200 to 300 views. I still probably will influence some people, and it's not good. And then when I look at people like Pete Robbo, another one I've been watching lately, David K. Poker, another really incredibly sweet bloke, really good at poker, really, really chilled. Um, yeah, just they set good examples, and I think they're the type of people and players we should aspire to be as players, as poker players at the table. Enjoying the game for what it is, not getting too salty when they're losing, etc. And I think it's like really important where we take our influences from, and be aware as like content creators, albeit I'm a very small content creator, about the influence that we may have on the people that choose to watch us, and the influence I've been setting like isn't always like what I want it to be. It's not a true representation of who I am. I actually consider myself to be quite a kind, caring person. The work I do away from poker demonstrates that. So, like, my poker persona is very different to the person I actually am, and I think I want to change that a little bit. Actually, the people like Pete Robbo and David K. Poker and a few others have kind of they've inspired me. And then like the ones who I think are really quite negative and shit and toxic and salty, in different ways, they've both inspired me to like be a little bit different in the way I create my content going forward, and just try to be more friendly and generally a more positive person when I'm creating videos. So there's my random thoughts on current content creators. Let's just get into the rest of the hand, and the ones are fun. We're going to be spinning through the rest of these pretty quickly. Oh no, hang on, this one. Yeah, this one's interesting as well in terms of like the lines I take later on. It's a pretty boring pot to begin with. Limp pot, we don't flop anything. Turn an open ender. This is something I'll do quite a lot of when flops check through. I typically do a lot of like turn over betting if I have like a reasonable made hand, or in this instance, a reasonable draw. I will do quite a lot of over betting. So we do the over bet here. This is the man from earlier. I'm not sure how much later in the video it is. I guess we can rewind back and see. This is the guy who had the ace queen earlier, so maybe he's just trying to get us back or something. Who knows? This guy went right in the tank. You're going to see the video jump in just a moment, I think. Yeah, because he literally went in the tank, and it's because he disconnected. So it took ages and ages, so we skipped that bit. And while he was doing that, I was just thinking to myself, just put the 9 of clubs down. Just put the 9 of clubs down, and we can just make another large value bet. Because Triple Eight to Dickhead, he decided not to put the 9 of clubs down, but it did furnish me with the 9 of diamonds, which is nice. And I just go with the overbet again. Not really sure what I'm hoping to get called by, just King X, I guess. Um, so we go with the overbet again. Our opponent doesn't take long to call. We obviously win because we have the nuts. And we're going to look at what he had in just a moment. And he had that, which I thought was pretty interesting. I mean, clearly he's just put me on, I don't know, like some kind of heart draw, some kind of like, I don't know, ace 10 type hand. Who knows what? Um, I don't know. I mean, I think his call's ambitious. And I think it's like, I think something I should do more is just overbetting rivers for value, and not just with the nuts. You know, too often I think my river like earlier in that we had the ace king and I bet like fucking 15 blinds into 80 odd on the river and what have you. I think I've been missing quite a lot of value lately with my sizings and my frequencies, etc. It's not been playing very well. This is like the next thing that I want to get into talking about. I almost forgot what to talk about this, and that is um, the thing I think has damaged my poker more than anything in the last 5 6 months is paying too much heed to solver output. And not that I've studied it, I haven't studied it whatsoever. I never used a solver in my life, but I do watch a lot of players who and talk to players who are like quite into their solver output. And I'm aware of the things that, like the strategies that come from that. And I've been, and here's the big problem that I've had. Number one, I'm aware that I've been trying to like execute some of those strategies with like different frequencies and different sizings. So that's what I've been trying to do. The first massive problem I have with that is I haven't studied them, so I haven't got a fucking clue. So I've just been doing things that I've been guessing that a solver might want to do based on what I've been told from other people who study solvers. And they may well be good or shit at studying solvers. And they might be saying things, oh, solver wants to do this, when it just fucking doesn't. So I've been guessing what I want to do from information I've gleaned from third parties who may or may not be interpreting solver output correctly. So the chance of that actually being a good strategy for me are fucking slim, really, really slim, to be honest with you. And I don't think I think my game in terms of how I'm thinking about the game, I'm learning more and more about blocker effect and things like that. I think I'm thinking much better about poker lately in terms of like hand reading and things like that. I think I'm getting better and better all the time at like ranging my opponents. But then I'm not often enough arriving at the best decision on how to proceed. Because I'll correctly raise my opponent. I think my opponent's really quite weak here, or I think my opponent's quite strong here. But then I'll choose an inappropriate bet sizing, or I'll do something at an inappropriate frequency because because I don't know why. I just know it's been happening, and I think one of the biggest things I've done is like, and the first time, a prime example of that is just fucking around with like too many shit small sizings or too many like absurdly large sizings, which is kind of things I think solvers like to do. They like to go small, big, but I think now there's probably a broader range of, you know. I guess I've just been trying to use two sizes on river, either small or really big, and not so much in the middle. And I think in the games I play, you you don't really want to, you don't need to be doing that. Most of these players who are playing these games, they may be like me. They maybe have like a very casual relationship with solver output, either by doing it themselves or watching or learning from people who do it, and then maybe they're misinterpreting it. Because people who are really good at poker don't hang around at 25 and L. They don't. They just fucking zoom through it. And people who are kind of like me, okay at poker, just stick around there because they can win there, they can't win higher. But they can't win higher because they're not good enough, and like myself. So they stick around there. So that means they're making lots and lots of mistakes. And the mistakes that the micro stakes player pool makes more often than not is they don't think that they don't bet value. They don't. bet thinly enough for value often enough. They certainly don't find enough bluffs, and they just call too often with hands they shouldn't call with. So if we imagine they're the leaks, some of the things I've been doing lately, which are really bad, is A, I've been using too many small river value bet sizes, so I've been missing value, and B, I've been paying off way too much. Just like fucking hell. Because you watch these videos, you're like, oh, well, he's got all these hands he can have. You're learning. You get to the river, and you're like, well, he should be like bluffing with his gut shots here. He should have like lots of combos of missed flush draws because there was a flush draw and a backdoor flush draw on the flop, and the backdoor flush draw got there on the turn. So it's like, oh, you can have gut shots here, you can have missed flush draws, you can have two lots of missed flush draws. And you end up assigning too many bluffs to your opponent and calling too often, and then just losing to the nuts a lot. So like two of the staple rules of micro stakes poker, which is don't pay off too often and don't miss value too often. I've been doing both of those things way too frequently, which is why my win rate's been quite shit for the year. Because I've been doing both of those things too often. I've not been making large enough river value bets, and I've been paying off way, way, way too many river value bets. So, what I'm gonna do going forward for the next few sessions is just try and like forget some of the stuff that I think I've learned. Still like use the skills I think I picked up to try and hand read correctly. But then when we get to like rivers especially, just try and just get more value, try and make larger bets at perhaps slightly lower frequencies. Like don't put so many bluffs in my range that I've been trying to put in because I've been doing some pretty shit bluffs too. Just try and make my range much more value heavy and like forget all this. I'm just going to block the river. A lot of the time, I'm just going to block the river, just going to block the river, just going to block that, and it just misses so much value. With strong hands, I would use a block sizing in case they bluff raise. This might induce a bluff raise. It doesn't. It just doesn't. People see a small bet on the river and they just think, oh, I can call that. People raise the river. It's just because they've got the nuts or very close to the nuts. So like using blocking sizes with good hands on the river is shit in the micro stakes. You should not be doing it. I've been doing it too often. Now, use a block size when you've got a hand that wants to block. Use a big size when you've got a hand that wants to get fat value. Be exploitable. That used to be one of my biggest strengths with exploiting players and taking exploitable lines, knowing that so few players were going to exploit me. I played that way for years, did really well. I coached that way for years, and a lot of the players I coached did really well. And the last 6 months or more, I've been trying to like make myself less exploitable, and it's a net negative effect on my results. And going forward, I'm going to try not to do it. If I'm blocking the river, it's going to be because I've got a hand that wants to block. If I'm betting 75% on the river, it's because I've got a hand that I think can get a lot of value. If I'm over betting the river, it's going to be 95% the nuts and 5% bluffs or something like that. And just try and get back to exploiting and being exploitable, because I think that's the quickest way to a large win rate in these games. So that's another random thought dump that we just had. Now we're just going to skip through the rest of these hands because I need to be going out soon and I've talked longer than I expected to. So here we've got a probably, in my opinion, one of the better regs in the pool. He's opening 3.4x, which I know most people think is shit. I'm not a fan of it myself either, but he is one of the tougher regs to play against. I elected to just call here because we had fish here, and potentially out of line guy here. So if we just 3-bet versus this player, we're probably going to fold these guys out, and then we're going to like isolate ourselves against the best player at the table, who's going to play the best against us, and just not that profitable in my opinion. Obviously, it's super profitable with Ace King to 3-bet in position, but to fold out 2 fish behind and like deny this guy the chance to squeeze, to when this guy's maybe he's going to call and set man and what have you, but as much as it's that very decently high EV to 3-bet Ace King here, I think long term there's more EV in allowing shit to go on behind us. This is something that I used to do all the time. I used to have a lot of like slow plays in position from early and middle position when there's like fish behind or active regs behind, etc. And then I used to do it more. As I was talking about just earlier, I'm trying to like stop doing a lot of the get back. Sorry, to doing a lot of the things that I used to do when when I used to have like a really good win rate, like one of the best win rates in the game, in my games. And you might laugh and say, "Oh, Reg, when did you ever have that?" I mean, if you go back and watch all my videos down the years, there's just evidence of my graphs and things that, like it or not, at the micro stakes, I've had like a really impressive, like top 5% win rate for a long time now. You might not like my style, but it's just fact. So anyway, yeah, we've done this, and we've gone with the flat call here. This dude is about to put a squeeze in. He's going to fold. We're just going to back raise shove because this guy's squeezing range, you would imagine, is going to contain lots and lots of hands that Ace King's doing really, really good against, and some stuff that will call. Like I don't mind here, for example, if he just calls tens, calls jacks, etc. We're in a flip with a little bit of dead money. He can sometimes call worse. Ace Queen maybe once in a while. And he's just going to do a lot of folding. So we're just going to back raise shove here. Not really a lot to talk about. Just hopefully we trap some dead money, and we're just going to be able to take it down pre a lot of the time. When we don't take it down pre, apart from when he's got pocket aces, we're never going to be in like truly, truly terrible shape. And he had that. I mean, what is that? I mean, I'm presuming this guy's just tilted because it can't be a thing. Can't be a thing. And that definitely shouldn't be a thing. Flopping an ace and having your opponent back it into a flush, it shouldn't be a thing. It's just rude, isn't it? But whatever. I was fine. We lost the hand. It was a pretty big pot, 250 blind pot. So it's a bit frustrating. But obviously, I'm really happy with the line we took. Really happy with the outcome that we managed to somehow get it in against 6 high. And then the result is what it is, isn't it? That's beyond our control. But everything that I could control, I think we did well with, and we just didn't win the pot. Now here we have somebody who's playing like really pretty badly. He's called Puff21. There used to be somebody years ago. It used to be a television program. I think it was called Puff the Magic Dragon in England. I think this guy's Puff chasing the dragon because he was playing like somebody who was enjoying some illegal substances, shall we say. So we could 3-bet here, very happily 3-bet here. But there's like aggro rig behind here. This guy normally is a short stacker, but for some reason he wasn't short stacking today. Sometimes you just see him playing 40 bigs. But there's a reasonable chance one of these two guys could 3-bet, and then we could just back raise again and be pretty happy with the situation. He does just call. Then out of nowhere, this guy who's like 15/5 over no sample just decides to rip. He's like the last guy that I wanted to rip, but it's only 21 big, so who cares? And then this guy just like calls, and I'm like, right, okay, well, that probably isn't dead money. That's dead money. That's stone fucking dead. He's out. He's not there anymore. He's an empty seat. And this guy, well, who fucking knows what he's got? I mean, is a fishy player going to be like trapping here with aces or kings? Probably not. They're probably just going to want to get the money in. So I eliminated any like premium hands from his holdings here. I thought he could have maybe jacks, tens, etc. But I didn't think he had aces, kings, queens. I think this player type just raced again. Either goes all in, clicks it back, whatever. So when he just calls, I thought, well, he's probably just in like medium pocket pair territory. Maybe king, queen, that type of thing. Ace, jack, maybe ace, queen, like we've got. Maybe ace, king. That doesn't want to rip it, but probably not. And I was pretty confident that we just had a really profitable jam spot here with all the extra juice in the pot. So we did end up jamming in the end. Bit of a spoiler. We take our time doing it, probably because it's like I don't think it's a mandatory shove, but I think it's absolutely fine to do it. And this guy has that. I mean, what's that? What is that? Just what is that? Nice spot to be in. That's what it is. We don't run bad in this one. We just rip off the top pair and we drag down a pretty nice pot. Here we have the Ace King. Our friend Puff is going to be in the action again. Again, I think we're just going to be ripping this, given what we've just seen from Puff previously. And this time he has the Ace Jack. And we hold, and that's it. There's all the hands from yesterday. I mean, the last 2 or 3 hands, they weren't super interesting. They were just like all in pre-flop stuff. But I put them in because I thought it was interesting the hands that people went with. We got somebody all in pre with 6 high. We got somebody all in pre with 4 high, and then this one, I guess, given that Puff, doesn't mind getting 4 deuce suited in pre-flop. I guess Ace Jack's just like the nuts to him in this spot. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video because there's been some loose strategy stuff at the start. There's been my random thoughts on general things in the middle, and then just some fun, like silly hands at the end. And I've enjoyed doing it. I've enjoyed dumping my thoughts. Yeah, I've probably maybe gone a bit far in how I've assessed certain streamers, but I don't really care. I mean, they dish it out. They probably need to take it. But I mean, if the guy ever hears about it, he probably won't take it well. And I don't really care very much because I do think he's not necessarily great for the community. But yeah, we'll crack on from that now, and we'll be back with a video on Monday. My plans for the weekend are probably just 25 and a snap because frankly, I don't think I beat GG or Party Poker for a big enough win rate to bother playing there. I think it's kind of not great. I think my win rates on those sites probably at best 2.5 bigs 100, maybe worse. Obviously, there's rate back that you don't get on Triple Eight, but I think on Triple Eight, my win rate's probably 5 or 6. So I'm just basically I'm saying, right, well, I get no rate back, but I get a decent win rate. I enjoy the game more. Whereas I could play. I don't think it makes a difference to my hourly whether I play on Party, GG, or Triple Eight. But I'd rather win the money at the tables than and enjoy playing more than like grind 4 tables for rake back and basically be a break-even player, but then getting like a decent chunk of rake back at the end of each week. I guess I'd rather just win the money at the tables and not care too much about rake back because I just enjoy that more. There's more players who I can beat in the Triple Eight pool than there is in the GG Party Poker pool. So yeah, we'll be back on Monday. I think we're just going to try and do stuff like this again because I think people prefer looking at hands when you can actually see the actual poker table. I think when we look at them in Hold'em Manager, I think like people just get put off straight away. They see the thumbnail of the video, they see that it's Hold'em Manager, whatever, can't be asked not watching that. But whereas here you can see the Triple Eight screen, you can see the HUD stats, whereas the actual HUD stats we've got on people rather than whatever bullshit Hold'em Manager wants to tell us in the replayer. I think it's just a better format, so we're going to do this, and hopefully we just bring some interesting hands in terms of like ones that have given me pause for thought over the weekend. I'll try not just to bring like bad beats, coolers, suck outs, etc. And we'll try I'll just record every session. I'll only mark like what I think are the most interesting hands to review, and I might even try and find someone to review them with on Monday. Might get someone, I might not. Who knows? But I'll ask around and see if anyone wants to join me for a. Oh no, sorry, it won't be Monday. Sorry, I just remembered I've got a training course Monday from 9:30 to 1:30. So actually it'll be Tuesday. So there won't be a video on Monday, there'll be a video Tuesday, but it'll be what we just talked about, and hopefully I can find someone who might want to look at the hands with me. If you'd like to volunteer for that, then reach out, get in touch, and yeah, I might get in touch with you. But take care, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend, and remember, be nice, be kind to each other. Take care, and bye bye for now.